The rain was coming down in sheets as I stared out the window of my Seattle apartment, the Space Needle barely visible through the gloom. I am Gareth, 44, and until recently I thought I had it all. A good job as a software architect, a comfortable life, and a wife, Isolde, whom I adored. We'd been married for 15 years, a milestone wed celebrated with a trip to Italy, or so I thought. Isolde worked as a marketing director for a large tech firm, often putting in long hours. I never questioned it, chalking it up to the demands of her job. But lately, things had felt off. She was distant, preoccupied, and her phone was practically glued to her hand. We barely spoke anymore, and when we did, it was like talking to a stranger. It started subtly. Isolde began staying late at the office more frequently. Business trips became a monthly occurrence. Her explanations were always vague, filled with industry jargon I didn't understand. I tried to be supportive, understanding that her career was important to her. But a gnawing feeling of unease began to creep into my mind, a feeling I desperately tried to ignore. One evening, Isolde claimed she had a last-minute conference in Portland. "It's crucial I attend," she said, her eyes avoiding mine. "A major client presentation." I offered to drive her to the airport, but she declined, saying a colleague was picking her up. I kissed her goodbye, the touch feeling cold and unfamiliar. After she left, I settled in for a quiet evening, intending to catch up on some reading. But the feeling of unease persisted, growing stronger with each passing minute. I found myself drawn to her laptop, which she'd left on the kitchen counter. I knew I shouldn't, that it was a violation of her privacy, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. With trembling hands, I opened her laptop. She rarely used a password, trusting me implicitly. Or so I thought. I navigated to her email, my heart pounding in my chest. I told myself I was just being paranoid, that I would find nothing, but deep down I knew the truth. The first email I opened was from an unknown address. The subject line was innocuous, project update. But the content was anything but. "Last night was amazing," it began. "I can't stop thinking about you. Portland can wait, I need you here." The email was signed Lysander, my world tilted on its axis. Lysander. The name was vaguely familiar. I scrolled through Isolde's contacts, finding a listing for Lysander Vance, her direct supervisor. The pieces began to fall into place, each one a shard of glass piercing my heart. I scrolled through more emails, each one a dagger twisting in my gut. They spoke of stolen moments, secret rendezvous, and a passion that had been simmering for months. They detailed their affair with a raw intensity that made me physically ill. I learned that the trip to Italy, our 15-year anniversary celebration, had been a lie. Isolde had spent most of the business trip with Lysander in Rome. I sat there, numb, the rain outside mirroring the storm raging within me. 15 years. 15 years of trust, love, and commitment, all reduced to ashes in an instant. I felt like I was suffocating, the air thick with betrayal. I spent the rest of the night in a daze, replaying the emails in my mind, searching for some explanation, some justification. But there was none. Isolde had betrayed me in the most profound way imaginable. She had not only broken our vows, but had mocked our entire relationship. When Isolde returned the next evening, she seemed surprised to find me still at home. "Gareth, what are you doing here?" she asked, her voice laced with a false sweetness that made my skin crawl. "No," I said, my voice flat, devoid of emotion. "I know about you and Lysander." Her face paled. "Gareth," she stammered, searching for words. "It's not what you think." "Oh, really?" I said, raising an eyebrow. Because the emails I read painted a pretty clear picture. The stolen weekend in Rome, the crucial business trips, the late nights at the office. She burst into tears, the crocodile tears of a guilty woman. "I am so sorry, Gareth," she sobbed. "It just happened. I didn't mean for it to go this far." "Didn't mean for it to go this far," I repeated, incredulous. "You've been having an affair for months, Isolde. How could you do this to me, to us?" She launched into a litany of excuses, blaming her unhappiness, her dissatisfaction with our marriage, her need for excitement. But I wasn't listening. Her words were just noise, a pathetic attempt to justify the unjustifiable. "I want you to leave," I said, my voice cold and hard. "Get out of my life." She pleaded, begged for forgiveness, promising to end the affair, to change. But I was done. The trust was broken, shattered beyond repair. I couldn't look at her without seeing the lies, the deceit, the betrayal. Isolde moved out the next day, taking with her a suitcase full of clothes and a lifetime of memories. Or so I thought. The following weeks were a blur of pain, anger, and disbelief. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't focus on anything. My world had been turned upside down, and I was struggling to find my footing. My friends, Bastian and Finley, were incredibly supportive, offering a shoulder to cry on and a much-needed distraction. They encouraged me to seek therapy to process my emotions, to start moving forward. One evening, Bastian suggested we go out for a drink. "You need to get out of this apartment, Gareth," he said. "You're going to drive yourself crazy." I reluctantly agreed, and we ended up at a local bar. As we were talking, I noticed a woman sitting alone at the bar, nursing a drink. She looked familiar, but I couldn't quite place her. "Do you know that woman?" I asked Bastian, nodding in her direction. He squinted, trying to get a better look. "I think that's Gwyneth," he said. "Lysander Vance's wife." My blood ran cold. Lysander Vance, the man who had destroyed my marriage. I hesitated for a moment, unsure of what to do. But curiosity and perhaps a touch of morbid fascination got the better of me. I excused myself and walked over to the bar. "Gwyneth," I said tentatively. "Excuse me, but are you Gwyneth Vance?" She looked up, her eyes red and swollen. "Yes," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "Do I know you? My name is Gareth," I said. "Gareth Mallory. I used to be married to Isolde." Her eyes widened in recognition. "Oh," she said, her voice filled with a mixture of surprise and understanding. "You're the husband." We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of our shared pain hanging heavy in the air. Then Gwyneth began to talk, pouring out her heart in a torrent of words. She had suspected something was going on between Lysander and Isolde for months. She had noticed the late nights, the secret phone calls, the hushed whispers, but she had dismissed it, telling herself she was just being paranoid. "I feel like such a fool," she said, tears streaming down her face. "I trusted him. I loved him. And he just threw it all away for some cheap affair." I listened, nodding in understanding. I knew exactly how she felt. We spent the next few hours talking, sharing our stories of betrayal and heartbreak. We discovered that we had a lot in common, a shared sense of loss and a burning desire for justice. As the evening wore on, Gwyneth revealed something that made my blood boil. Lysander had been embezzling money from the company for years, using it to fund his lavish lifestyle and his affair with Isolde. She had stumbled upon some incriminating documents and had confronted him about it. "He threatened me," she said, her voice trembling. "He said if I told anyone, he would ruin me. He would take everything I had. That was it. That was the final straw. I couldn't stand by and let Lysander get away with this. He had destroyed my marriage, betrayed his wife, and stolen from his company. He needed to be stopped." Gwyneth and I spent the next few weeks working together, gathering evidence of Lysander's crimes. We contacted a private investigator, a man named Torin, who helped us uncover even more dirt. We discovered that Lysander had been involved in several other affairs, preying on vulnerable women in the company. Finally, we had enough evidence to go to the authorities. We contacted the police and the company's board of directors, presenting them with our findings. Lysander was immediately suspended, and an investigation was launched. The investigation revealed the full extent of Lysander's crimes. He had embezzled millions of dollars, engaged in fraudulent accounting practices, and sexually harassed multiple employees. He was arrested and charged with numerous felonies. Isolde was also implicated in the scandal. It turned out that she had been aware of Lysander's illegal activities and had even helped him cover them up. She was fired from her job and faced potential criminal charges. The news of Lysander and Isolde's downfall spread like wildfire. Their reputations were ruined, their careers destroyed. They had lost everything. Gwyneth and I found solace in each other's company. We had both been victims of Lysander's deceit, and we had bonded over our shared pain. We spent hours talking, laughing, and crying together. We discovered that we had a deep connection, a shared understanding of the world. One evening, as we were sitting on my couch watching a movie, Gwyneth turned to me and said, "Gareth, I think I'm falling in love with you." I looked at her, my heart swelling with emotion. "I think I'm falling in love with you too, Gwyneth," I said. We kissed, a tender, passionate kiss that sealed our fate. We had found love in the midst of heartbreak, a beacon of hope in the darkness. But the story doesn't end there. A few months later, I received a call from Isolde. She was desperate, her voice filled with fear. She had been diagnosed with cancer and she needed my help. I was torn. On the one hand, Isolde had betrayed me in the worst possible way. She had destroyed our marriage and caused me immense pain. On the other hand, she was sick, vulnerable, and alone. Could I turn my back on her in her time of need? I talked to Gwyneth about it, and she encouraged me to do what I thought was right. "You're a good person, Gareth," she said. "You have a big heart. Don't let Isolde's actions change who you are." I decided to visit Isolde in the hospital. She looked frail and weak, her once vibrant eyes now dull and lifeless. She apologized for everything she had done, expressing her deep regret for the pain she had caused me. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, Gareth," she said, her voice barely audible. "But I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me someday." I sat with her for hours, listening to her stories, holding her hand. I didn't forgive her, not completely. But I did offer her my compassion, my support. I helped her navigate the healthcare system, connected her with resources, and visited her regularly. Isolde eventually succumbed to her illness, passing away peacefully in her sleep. I attended her funeral, standing alongside her family and friends, paying my respects to the woman I had once loved. Life is strange, isn't it? It throws you curveballs, tests your limits, and forces you to confront your deepest fears. But it also offers moments of unexpected grace, opportunities for healing, and the chance to find love in the most unlikely of places. Gwyneth and I are still together, our love growing stronger with each passing day. We have built a life together, a life filled with love, laughter, and mutual respect. We have learned from our past mistakes, and we are committed to creating a future filled with happiness. And as for Lysander, he is still in prison, serving a long sentence for his crimes. He lost everything just as he deserved. Karma, as they say, is a dish best served cold.